Where else around here looked Islamic? If Christopher Columbus came here and he saw a mosque on the hill,
Man, there is no such thing as something looking Islamic. Damn.
I mean, bro, like that is the craziest shit ever, bro. Like we just like Islam, shalom. So is it shalamic? Like, yo, bro, like, come on, bro. Like, you are new. More is new. It's not ancient. So when you start getting to ancient conversations, it's not gonna be more. You're gonna start saying Moabite, move. You're gonna start saying Egyptian. You're gonna start saying all these other tribes. More is not a nationality. It's not a goddamn tribe. It's nothing. Okay? You can be mad. You can be all caught up in a word spell. You can get all into your belief system, but it is not real. Same way that y'all tell an Israelite, man, that ain't real. That ain't no such thing as that or whatever. Your homeland ain't in Israel. They just created that. You have to have the same conversation for yourself. There's no such thing as Morocco or Moroccan kingdom. You guys are playing games. That flag has nothing to do with Morocco. So I don't know what y'all got going on. Where's your blue, yellow, and green flag at, bro? That conversation is asinine. Like this is, we're looking at y'all like, what are you talking about? Like that doesn't make any sense. It can't make sense. The dudes that say that they are learned and that they more supposed to be smart and all of this stuff. I don't see that. I see people who are believers. So no.
and the Franciscan priests are gonna see Indians here and say these Moors and stuff like that. What the hell you think they saw when they came over here? Some grass skirt, leather skirt wearing guys? Or did they see everything Moorish when they came here? And this is the issue that I have with these people. Because they would claim that they're everything else. When you have stone telling you that over here is Moorish, you're not going to convince me about some Aboriginal, indigenous, Autochthon BS. Because like the Moor said, Anur Madrid said, we are all Moors. You can't even get around it. If you want to get around it, you're playing yourself. Venetian paintings, particularly of biblical subjects, incorporated settings inspired by Mamluk Egypt and Ottoman Turkey. In addition to artistic influence, oh yeah, and keep in mind, anytime you hear Ottoman, that's late Moorish Empire. Don't hear Ottoman, and then you're starting to talk about some Turks and all.
Well, what else can you talk about? You don't have nothing to say that. They created you, goofy. Bro, we just broke down y'all history last night. Did he miss that? He might have missed that. Well, he did. He did this before that. They didn't make a response video today. We just finishing them up. It's crazy. What you about to say, bro?
I said he sounds upset, hurt even. Let's get back to it.
All that stuff when the Ottoman Turks came out of the Moorish Empire. In addition to artistic influence, the Islamic world.
Then he said that shit.
world also contributed to the scientific growth of Venetian culture. Many of the classical, astronomical, and mathematical treatises known in Venice were originally introduced through Arabic translation.
See, real quick.
See science and the art of the Islamic world.
Real
These
quick.
various
Our architecture is older, and we have 1,000 times more stuff than any other. You could put all their stuff all together on the continent of so-called Africa that he's claiming, right? You don't have you don't even have pyramids. You don't even have these type of structures in so-called Morocco. So they attach themselves back to so-called Egypt, but now you down in the Ottoman Turks when those are your fathers. Those are your forefathers. Am I missing something here, Lotus? How is he walking away from the Ottoman Turks when you wearing their hat?
Right.
You're literally using their stuff. And what are you talking about? I just need to ask the Moorish brother in the chat room. Do you wear a fez or a turban, brother? All y'all. I'm asking all y'all that. Y'all gonna learn today. Spying on the people. You're not having it. So yeah, man. Yeah, let's get back to that, man. I needed to say that, man. We have more architecture, no pun intended, like more, but we have way more than you have, and ours is older. It's grander and older. So stop telling us like it comes from there. That's slow, bro. Science, mathematics has put us in front and not behind because you see it from the Arab conquest with the sword. Remember the sword, y'all? They see it from their conquest. You guys were not. You guys were literally put together by the Caucasians here in America, who got it from the Arabs. Literally, this is not from us. What the rendition that you have with it right now. So I just want to get back to that, man. So this guy is speaking and the stuff he's saying is not right and exact. So let's go.
connections left a very tangible legacy in Venice. By the 19th century, some of the most important and largest collections of Islamic art were in Venetian lands. Walter Denny, Ottoman velvets were for the most part woven not in Istanbul, but in the old Ottoman capital, an important provincial center of Bursa. Bursa velvets were used extensively as costumes and vestments by Europeans, especially by Russians. But in the Ottoman Empire, which again was the Moorish Empire, they were used almost exclusively not for costumes, but as furnishing fabrics. Among the most beloved genres of Ottoman furnishing fabrics was the yastik, a flat bolster cover, sometimes with a medallion and sometimes with repeated designs in which a characteristic end finished of lappets and flap-like forms in which small palisades containing flowers, carnations or tulips or rosebuds are frequently visible. Bursa velvets, unlike Persian velvets, always show us a very limited palette. Generally, there is one ground color, overwhelmingly red, with little accents of green. Red with little accents of green? What does that sound like to you? Doesn't that sound Moorish? Islam Moors. I don't know if you have anything to add on before I continue on.
Islam, Green Sheik.
Islam.
You just give all the information. You killed them because even with the when you had mentioned the conquistadors coming over and saying those Moors, we even showed the document in that book where they referred to Montezuma's headdress as a Moorish hat.
Moorish hat.
And this was in the 1500s.
Mm-hmm.
And we also showed this document where it says that in 1621 the word Indian the word Moor was substituted for the word Indian. Up until 1621 it was just Moors. They changed it.
Moorish. All up and down this, it was Moorish. Unavoidable.
Islam.
Islam more.
Islam.
I just wanted to add on the candle back on the point, Ushu Raneki, that not only was current day Mexico Moorish, but all of South America. I'm coming out of a book called Historical Researches on the Conquest of Peru, Mexico, Bogota, Natchez, and Talamico in the 13th century by the Mongols. This book's written by John Rankin. I'm just going to read a sentence. This is page 94. It's going over the lineage of Caciques. Caciques are the current day, what we would call current day Spanish speaking Moors in South America. And they're describing what they're usually wear on their head. And this is coming from the 13th century. They wear upon their heads a covering, in parentheses, toque, fig, and garland, which is French, translates to toque of garland, which they call Pilu, Pillu. Now, why would I bring that up? You may want to Google and search Pillu, and then look on images, and you'll clearly see, it may not have a tassel, may not be red, but you'll find nothing but a fez. Islam.
Islam. You just go see that.
Hey, y'all notice how they just interjecting everything is a war. Oh my God. I mean, so then
Pilu. A toque.
that this came here. That's what you're saying. At some point in time, you're still standing on that paradigm. You don't have any evidence for that. Zero evidence.
Now, the question now, because we've listed some references, the Aboriginal guys are saying that why do we need to show books? Why do we need to show books? Because can't you just think? Could you speak on the point of why people should have references, especially book references?
Is I think the key about having the books or points of reference is best summarized by the Aboriginal and indigenous argument that was recently made. Said that reading what you read isn't necessarily what is the message that's trying to be conveyed. It's not just about reading the words. It's all about something, and I'm going to paraphrase for the brother.
Right.
It's all about comprehension. So one cannot comprehend for themselves if they don't have the source material. If you're hearing someone else's interpretation, then you're basing your perception on that subject matter off someone else's comprehension. By having the source, you're free to go, look up the material, read it, digest it, look up the words that you don't know, make sure you don't go past any, because if you do, you may miss the actual point that the data is trying to give you. But that's just basic research.
Islam.
Shalom.
You got anything to add, Brother Yusuf?
Islam. And just to add on, another reason we use books for reference is because, man does not know what man is told. I don't want to just you to take my word for it. I'm going to give you the reference where you can go look it up for yourself. Because that we always say it all the time. This isn't what I'm saying. It's in the literature. This isn't us saying it. We get it from the literature because we don't want people to believe what we're saying. Like, it's a fact. That's the whole thing. Like, as soon as you get the reference, you see that it's a fact. He didn't say this. I didn't, when we bring up the reference that they found the Moorish hat in 1521, none of us even existed in 1521. That's a major reference. You know what I mean? Like, that's a major reference. Like, if we just say that, you know what I mean? Like, that's nothing. But when he tell you, oh yeah, you can go research it, put it in the Google search, and go into the books. When you go into the Google search, click books and search it, it'll pop right up, show you what book it's in and everything. And like the master teacher said, it really wasn't even hidden.
Yeah.
It was simple. It was simple. But that's a major. Like, I couldn't say that. I couldn't just say, oh, they changed the word in 1620. I wouldn't think to make that up. Like, I read that. We read that. Showed the reference. Like, that's why I love to show references from books, because you get to see the fact for yourself. Islam.
Mm-hmm. Islam. Now again, just going back to this Venice thing, so you can get the whole perspective about Venezuela and the Moors, and why FOH to all these Aboriginal indigenous people talking BS. Even St. Mark's Basilica, built when Venice was still a semi-autonomous outpost of the the Apostles' Church in Constantinople underwent some extraordinary modifications. Its low-curving Byzantine domes were raised and given their present bulbous profiles in imitation of Mamluk mosques and tombs, and the church's grand portals were restructured to lend them a distinctly Moorish flavor. A distinctly Moorish flavor. So again, when you go to Venice and they say they named Venezuela after Venice, this is what they saw in Venezuela. They saw stuff like look like this in Venezuela. Ain't no Indians, Aboriginal, Autochtons built anything looking like this. They saw things looking like this in Venezuela. Right? Remember that Venice's architecture is Gothic and Eastern. One thing to notice when you're looking at Venice's architecture in general, with its elegant pointed arches and lacy details, is just how different it looks from the architecture you see in, say, Rome or Florence. Unlike those cities, Venice was at its most prosperous during the Middle Ages. By the 12th century, it was already a powerful and moneyed republic. And at that time, Gothic-style architecture was the trend. Unsurprisingly, therefore, Venetian architecture became largely Gothic architecture, with its asymmetricality and emphasis on light. After the Renaissance hit, you know the Renaissance is the Moors, with its focus on rationalism and balance, architects started to incorporate some of its hallmarks, like rounded rather than pointed arches. Even so, they continue to blend Renaissance innovations with that same Gothic style. Plus, unlike other Italian cities, Venice had close ties to the East thanks to its vast trade networks. A lot of Venetian architecture, therefore, was taken from Byzantine and Moorish styles. So what did these people see when they went to Venezuela? What did they see? They saw stuff that looked Moorish. What did they see? They saw stuff that looked Moorish when they went to Venezuela. And you just pull up pictures of Venezuela and they'll show you the same stuff that they got going on right now there. Aboriginal and indigenous, but denying the connection to the Moors. Now, once again, for these Aboriginal, indigenous, whoever's, again, Jose Pimenta Bay, our fellow children of the New World. In Mexico, Mande Muslims were in the majority, though there were also some Fula, Tukulor, and Mosi Muslims as well. The legacy of the Mande Muslim in Mexico today are seen in the Amerindian magic and the numerous places in Mexico which bear their name. In addition, we observe Mande Islamic religious traditions among the Indians and Mande words in the Nahulatan language, Othmi and Nanticoke languages. Again, it is significant that all such ethnic groups mentioned occupy the historic boundaries of Moorish dominions. The connection to the Nanticoke is particularly relevant as this Delaware-based nation specifically asserts Moorish origins and has a sister nation known as the Moors. Aboriginal indigenous, but you're not claiming nothing Moorish. But the people who are in Mexico, even though they're going to talk about Fula and Mandy and Tucolor and Mosi and all that stuff, they're still saying Moorish. Why? Because everybody knows, even Spanish-speaking people know, that African countries, African tribes, African nations were part of the Moroccan Empire. And the Moroccan Empire went from over there across the Great Atlantis onto the present North, South, and Central Americas and the adjoining islands. Why is it so hard for these people to accept the fact that they're Moors? Why is it that they're going to talk so crazy about rights and that they're Aboriginal and Indigenous? What the UN tells these Aboriginal and Indigenous people that they have a right to a nationality, and these people are arbitrarily denying themselves their right to a nationality and claiming that they're some tribe. And want to know how come Moors don't want to deal with them? And how come Moors going to go in their chat and talk crazy at them to try to wake them up, and then they're going to be blocking Moors from being able to talk in their chat? Because obviously they know that we have something right to say. Why would you block somebody if they're talking crazy and wrong? Why wouldn't you let the person talking wrong talk? Just let them talk. If Moors are so wrong, why are you blocking us in your chat? Obviously we have something right to say. And then they're going to put their little link to go on their little platform so these people could try to run train on one more. They could bum rush one more on their little platform, but they're not going to tell the people that the more been emailed them about, why don't we set up something so we can discuss this? Since you guys are so about unity or whatever, how come you don't set up a separate thing for Moors and the Aboriginal Indigenous to come together in unity and have a discussion? No, they don't want to do that. They want to do the versus Frank Gary BS and tell Moors to go suck stuff and all of that stuff, and have their little minions in their chat LOLing and throwing up feathers and all this type of BS, when we already know that these people are sellouts. That's why I went on their thing and I told them that they're sellouts, because there's no way that they're going to agree that they're indigenous. But when Moors bring up nationality, and that nationality is the order of the day, they don't want to hear what Moors are saying. They're going to talk about, we don't need to know any of that. We don't need to do that. It's not about nationality. Moors are Berbers and all this stuff, talking crazy. Again, we already know what's up. We got our birthright. We could lock down YouTube tomorrow and not give a shit about anybody out here. Forget giving anybody info. Find us if you want to know something about Moors. But no, we have a duty as Moors to uplift fallen humanity, because humanity has fallen. And we're about that radical enlightenment. We're about beat you with the spike bat to wake you up. Forget slap you with a book. Spike bat to your head to wake you up. Guarantee that you're going to learn from Moors. Guarantee. And we have enough Moors that were Negro, black, colored, that woke the hell up because of Moors. You name them. You're not going to find me any Aboriginal, Indigenous, whoever, that woke up somebody, because if they're still claiming they're Aboriginal and Indigenous, they didn't wake anybody up. People still sleep. If they were Negro, black, colored, and now they're Aboriginal and Indigenous, they're still sleep. Because nationality is the order of the day. What's your nationality? You don't have one? That means you're stateless. That's not opinion. That's fact. Go actually, you know, we'll ask the UN. Let's just ask the UN, see what they say. The right to a nationality. The right to a nationality is a fundamental human right. It applies the right of each individual to acquire, change, and retain a nationality. International human rights law provides that the right of states to decide who their nationals are is not absolute. And in particular, states must comply with their human rights obligations concerning the granting and loss of nationality. arbitrary deprivation of nationality. The right to retain a nationality corresponds to the prohibition of arbitrary deprivation of nationality. That's what these people are doing to all these Aboriginal and indigenous people that they're claiming are their tribes up and feathers up and all that BS.
Man, Lotus. You. Noble. Lotus.
Moors. None of these other Indian tribes historically don't have a problem saying that they're Moors. It's only these Moors that are around today that want to keep you asleep because they know that right now it's the time of radical enlightenment. Radical enlightenment means you are going to get the spike back to your head to wake up. Forget talk to you about some books. The order of the day is nationality. It has been since Noble Drew Ali's been on the scene, since all these so-called Aboriginal indigenous people used to wear turbans and used to wear, what's it called? Punies and all this stuff. Feathers without tassels on them. Have Arabic names, Muslim names. Everything that they're doing is damn reference to some Muslim. And these people are in denial, trying to keep our people deaf, dumb, and blind, removing them from the fact that they're Moors and that that's their nationality. And they keep bringing up some stuff of who called you that and who named us Moors and all this stuff. When these people recognize Dr. Ben and he said, we were calling ourselves Moors. Nobody calling us Moors. We called ourselves that. Islam Moors. Islam. You got anything to throw in right now?
I just wanted to add it on earlier when you were speaking on Venezuela, that Horace Butler mentions that Venezuela is really Phoenicia. And I wanted to, because that's back to the Moors again. That's not Indians. That goes right back to the Moors. So you can look up Horace Butler. That's another reference. And he's even telling you, like America, even in the word America, it goes back to the Moors. There goes back to the Moors again. Horace Butler. When rocks cry out, you can get the book. It tells you all about it. I just wanted to mention that because you was going. And then another thing, Venezuela, that's Venus. And we also know that our flag has and you mentioned it too, when they talked about the green and the red.
Yep.
That's our flag. That's our flag. Venezuela, that's Venus. That's our flag. All of this whole thing is Morocco. There was I'm not gonna mention it because I couldn't find the reference. But we talked about it before. They might have taken it down, but we talked about it a couple of years back. Remember we found that governor when he referred to the South of America as South of Barbary?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
People can research that if they still let us find that.